And welcome again to this episode of Live from the Leon's Den. My name is Cesar Rincon. I'll be your host today, and of course today we're interviewing the man, Carlos Leon.
Good
How
to
are
see you, Cesar? How have you been?
I have been fantastic. I've been a little bit on the eating too much side, but definitely getting ready for the spring and the summertime. So how have you been?
The blooms are coming.
The blooms are coming, yes, sir.
By the pollen count, I think they're here.
Yes.
But I've been great, been working a lot, getting good results for our clients, and looking forward to continuing this year. It's been interesting. We've been picking up cases not only around the state of Texas, but we've been asked to help some folks in as far away as Kansas City, in Florida, and those are injury cases where they've asked us to come in based on our expertise.
Okay. Excellent. So tell us a little bit about, on our Facebook page or your Facebook page, the Law Firm's Facebook page, we have, as we drive through the city of Houston, the greater Houston area, we drive around, and not that we're looking for, but as we drive around, we see some serious violations. We see workers on scaffolding, we see workers on cranes that are just not being taken care of. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with work injuries and things like that.
Well, due to what our firm has become very specialized in, which is 18-wheeler accidents, work-related accidents, I can't help myself but when I drive around to look for and point out to myself or anybody that's in the car with me when I see dangerous working conditions. And you see them a lot, and so why does that matter to me? Because a lot of my clients are those laborers or those workers who are being asked to get up 20, 30 feet without proper fall protection, or they're being asked to, as in a video you just saw on our Facebook page, to get in a man lift and go up in the middle of an intersection without any warning devices or traffic control signs, and they're basically putting their lives at risk. So again, yes, we look around, we see these situations. We're trying to put some of them on Facebook, on our Facebook Law Firm page, so that you too, the viewer, potential client, the person that may know a relative or a loved one that's in one of these situations, you can know we see them. We know what's going on out there, and we know how to prosecute a case for our client, so that if they're found in this situation, they're injured, severely injured due to somebody's negligence, we can help them get what they deserve.
Right. And of course, Carlos, there's in work-related injuries, there's two types of injuries, or two types of potential cases. One, of course, workers' compensation, and third party. Can you explain to our viewers what is the difference between when somebody's injured and they're covered under workers' comp or not covered?
Absolutely. So the state of Texas subscribes to what's called the Workers' Compensation Act. Anybody that you work for in the state of Texas has two choices. All right. Choice number one is they can get workers' compensation insurance. If you're injured on the job, it doesn't matter what you were doing, how you were doing it. If you're injured on the job and they have workers' compensation, they're obligated to pay for your necessary medical bills, your expenses, which hurts a lot of us if you don't have some coverage. And they pay for a portion of your wages if you're found to be unable to work for a period of time. The second choice is I don't want workers' compensation because being due to expense, sometimes employers decide to do that. Sometimes just due to neglect. They just don't want to have it. In that case, then you, the injured worker, do have a claim specifically against the employer, and the claim can include non-liquidated damages and other types of damages you can't get under a traditional workers' compensation case. So when you go to work for somebody, they're going to tell you. You're going to sign paperwork, and you're hired, and this is our insurance plan, or this is our workers' compensation that we have. In fact, they have to post it. State regulations is if they're covered by workers' compensation, you got to post it somewhere in the cafeteria or the water jug area, workroom, whatever. And so you'll know. And if you're injured in a situation where your employer doesn't have workers' compensation, like I said, that does not mean you don't have a claim. You just have a different kind of claim.
Right. Now, sometimes when people get injured on the job and let's say they don't have workers' compensation, they don't want to make a claim because they feel like they may have some type of retaliation from their employer trying to sweep it under the rug and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and in fact, that happens. Okay, I have many a potential client that comes into my office and says, I was injured on the job. They do not have workers' compensation. It was a clear negligible act by the employer that could have prevented this worker from being injured. But they say, you know what, I need this job. I can't afford to get fired. I can't afford to lose my job because of this, and then what do I do? Well, here's the cold reality is that if you choose to sue your employer who does not have workers' compensation insurance, that is a risk. But you have to weigh the risk. Lose my job or get what I deserve, which could be, future compensation that takes care of the future damages that you had. In other words, if your injury is severe enough, you may have future medicals for a long-term, a long-term period of time. You may have the need for a different kind of van for your wheelchair if you're, God forbid, in a wheelchair now because of this injury. There's things that we would develop as a damage model that you need to go try to get. And that far outweighs keeping your job where by the way, they're not taking care of you anyways because they're not protecting you when you're out on the job site.
Right, and they could get rid of you. Texas being an at-will state, they could get rid of you 2 weeks later anyway.
Texas is an at-will state, which means, folks, they can get rid of you any day, any way, anyhow, as long as it's not for one of the, we consider bad reasons. Your gender, your sexual orientation, your race, your ethnicity, that kind of stuff. But they'll find a way to get rid of you. So that's the truth of it. But you have a claim, so explore it. Come talk to someone. Come talk to us, the Léon Law Firm. But if you can't talk to us, talk to somebody. Make sure you know your rights, and don't be afraid to follow through with your rights, because it could leave you in a situation where you have no job and you have no way to afford your future medical costs.
Right, and now, of course, those are injuries that could result from your daily activities in your job. But let's talk a little bit about third-party type claims where you're doing your job, but due to the negligence of a third party or malfunctioning equipment, your injuries came as a result of that. Tell us a little bit about the difference.
Third-party claims that you're talking about, Caesar, we see a lot. And in fact, we have a lot of those where the injuries are severe and serious to our clients. Usually you see those in a commercial construction setting.
Okay.
You've got a general contractor that's building a hotel, and that general contractor hires 50 subcontractors to do different phases of the contract, different phases of the building process. And then you have the potential client for us who works for one of those subcontractors, but let's say he's hired to work on the windows. But one of the subcontractors who's hired to put in the AC is there at the same time, and they're above him, for example, and the AC is not properly installed. It falls through the roof, falls on top of my guy who was there to do windows. Okay. That AC installing subcontractor would be a responsible third party, which means our window installer client has a claim against his own employer, and he also has a claim against the AC subcontractor, potentially against the general contractor. That's where our expertise is important, because we'll go in there and look and see who had what responsibility, who was supposed to be in charge of safety, were the OSHA provisions being followed. So that's important. You got to know you got to have somebody that knows what to look for. So third-party cases refer to that, where you have not only the employer that the client works for as a potential party, but you have a third party that might be involved in the construction scene or site and had some control over some of the safety measures, and they failed to do that, which led to your injury.
Well, one of the important things is, injuries, like you said, an injury that's not, obviously an injury is an injury, but what the effects that you feel today may not be the effects that you feel 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now. That's why it's important that people seek not only the proper medical attention immediately, but then also to seek legal counsel so that they can really estimate and see what happens. What I see happening, Carlos, is people, fortunately, most people will only have 1 or 2 accidents in their life, right?
Thank God.
So they don't know what they don't know. In your case, you're on the other side of the coin, where you see people who have had accidents, and with 20 plus years of experience, you've seen it all. You've seen all kinds of injuries.
I have seen it all. And what people have to understand is that when they're involved in a work-related injury, there's 2 components to that case. There's the liability component. We got to find out who's at fault. And then there's the damage component. We got to find out what your damages are. You raised that a minute ago. It could be 2 weeks before you feel the full extent of your injuries. I'm going to flip it around. It could be that your injuries are so severe, it could be 2 years before you know how long those injuries are going to persist. How much additional money you're going to need to get the surgeries or the medical devices you need, or the wheelchair, modifications to your home, modifications to your automobile.
Right.
Those things sometimes don't fully develop themselves for a year or two while this person is recovering and treating. So you got the liability component, which we're extremely good at because we know how to investigate these cases. We have the right experts to go in, that know OSHA, that know safety, that know engineering, that know construction. And then we have the right experts for the damage model, the life care planners, the folks that are going to be specialized in what your problem is, traumatic brain injury experts. We can provide a full damage model so that when we get to the finish line, we can tell the insurance company that's paying the check, or we can tell a jury of 12 of our peers, here is what the damages are. And doing it in a very concise and clear way so that when we ask for whatever the compensation is, they've got it right there in front of them.
Well, Carlos, and you said something very important that I think is critical for our viewers to understand. Right out of the gate, as you're talking about the claim, you're going all the way to the jury. And that's something that I admire about your law firm, because I have seen how, yes, of course, it'll take longer, but you will fight tooth and nail to bring a case all the way to trial. You're not afraid to do that, because there's law firms out there who just basically shuffle paper and they take the easy way out. They don't fight all the way, and the victim or the injured person ends up with a smaller settlement of what potentially they could have gotten if they worked with a law firm that goes all the way.
It's very true. And unfortunately what happens is you have a lot of lawyers that either don't have the resources to fully investigate and prosecute a claim.
Right.
They don't have the expertise or the knowledge on how to do it. And they really look at these cases, they get them, and what they're thinking is, I got to settle this as soon as I can. I won't be able to make it to the finish line. I either don't know how to do it or I don't have the resources to do it. We don't do that here. Every case I ever get, as you just mentioned, I'm always thinking, what will a jury think? What will a judge think on some of these evidentiary decisions? What can I make sure I have early in the case so that when I show this to a jury, we're prepared, we have complete information, and they can render a verdict in our favor and a decision regarding dollars and cents, because that's what it's about for our clients, is compensation. They can make that decision with clear information that we've given them, because we've been thinking trial from day one. Now, do all the cases go to trial? No, a very small percentage of the cases go to trial. But we look at every case as it's going to end up in front of a jury, because the other side, the defense lawyers, the insurance company, they want to know, is this lawyer ready to go to trial? Can he go to trial? If we go to trial, does he know what he's doing, and will he have the evidence he needs? So you're right. Our whole philosophy here is everything's going to trial, and if along the way they succumb to the evidence and I convince them essentially that our position is better than theirs, right, then they're going to do what they're supposed to do and give us the compensation that our client deserves.
Excellent, Carlos. Well, I certainly appreciate that, because people, it's their livelihood. When somebody gets injured, everything can change for them. So now, speaking of changing and things that change rapidly, last, end of the summer, Hurricane Harvey made a big splash around town, and there's some new developments you want to share with us about things that are happening with that.
The inverse condemnation cases are still slowly moving along. Our firm, together with another firm here in town, is pushing those. They're going to take time. Many of them have been filed. Many more are going to be filed. The law is difficult on the case, but we feel very good about our position. Something that's come up, and you talking about change, we're finding that not just the Barker Cypress area out in the Katy area are the only people that were affected by some sort of unintended flooding, and that's what I call it, due to Harvey. We're finding that we got folks over here out in Sugar Land in the Riverstone area, which is a very beautiful neighborhood along University Boulevard. They had issues that appear, we're working on that evidence and making sure we investigate this properly, that they had an issue with regards to a couple of pumps that were supposed to deliver water from the neighborhood when it would collect due to a storm and take it into the Brazos River. They did not work the way they were intended to work. Mm-hmm. We're trying to figure out why. We're also finding out that when this neighborhood was designed, engineered, and the homes were built, that the elevation, the intended elevations of many of these neighborhoods as they backed up to each other weren't thought out properly. Okay, so you had some neighborhoods that were a little bit higher, and then 2 streets over, that neighborhood's lower, so you can imagine where everything's going to go. and this is not a hilly area. This is a flat area where, the engineers and the developers brought in dirt. They brought in a design, and that design had to include plans for when there was, they're literally miles from the Brazos River. So we're looking at those cases. If you know somebody that's out in the Riverstone area, we've already started picking up clients. We're going to start looking at those very seriously. Let us know. Give us a call here at the office, and we'll let you know if we think we can help you and where we're at on those cases.
Okay. Now, Carlos, you had a very busy fall. You started the year out of the gate. Normally we meet about every other week, and this year you've been on the road, working hard. Tell us a little bit about the results that you have seen here in the last few months for your clients.
And it's been a very fruitful first part of the year. We're very proud of the work we've done for our clients. I had a meeting a few days ago with clients where we resolved their case, and the best part of my job, the best part of my job is to see their faces knowing that it's over, that their future in terms of finances is resolved and taken care of, that any medical care that he will need or she will need is going to be taken care of. But they've got a plan on moving forward, and essentially the recovery period really begins in earnest. But yes, we had some plant injury cases. We had some 18-wheeler cases. We had some construction site cases here in El Paso, in Odessa, that have worked out really well for our clients. And yes, so we hit the ground running at the beginning of the year. We've seen the results of that. Now we're cranking it back up again. We've been blessed to build a very healthy reputation in this industry, and I'm proud of that. And it seems to be coming back in the form of other lawyers and individuals mentioning us to people that get caught up in the situation.
Okay. Now, it's a little cool today in Houston, but the 80s are here. Temperature-wise, the 80s. 90s are right around the corner. Pool season. And a couple of things I want to talk about in regards to pool season. First thing is a lot of people building pools this time of year. We've had some cases where we represented homeowners who were not taken care of properly by their pool builder. So if you want to touch on that, but I also want to talk a little bit about pool safety. So
yeah, and then good point. And frankly, until you just said that, I hadn't really thought about it when you said pool season. But yeah, I guess we have covered all aspects of the pool, the designing of a pool, the activities that take place at a pool, and it's important to note that. You're right. Driving out of my neighborhood today, I saw 2 pools that they were just getting started today. People all over the city and all over the state are beginning to think about summer, and homeowners are building pools. In reference to that, if you're getting a pool built, make sure you vet your pool builder. Make sure you're not getting a guy that used to be a landscaper and now decided to build pools, and he's going to misengineer it. He's going to build something that in 3 years you're going to have a giant leak, or it's going to be pulling part of your foundation off. Really make sure you vet that builder. And if you have issues once the pool's been built, or if you're a longtime pool builder who's noticing cracks and the different things that shouldn't be happening in your new pool, let us know. Maybe we'll take a look at that. We have had success. Last year we represented over 4 different people that had issues, pool builders, and the way they designed it, and the end result was we were able to get them the compensation they deserved so they could repair those pools and they could continue to enjoy it. Now move to the other aspect. You're a homeowner with a pool. Well, the natural thing is you want to enjoy your pool, have friends over, your kids have their friends over. Remember, you do have a responsibility as a homeowner, as a pool owner, to make sure, under a premises defect kind of law, to make sure that you're not exposing your guests to dangerous conditions, okay? So just be careful. I think it's common sense a lot of times. If you're having a party and somebody's got their small children over, and you're outside barbecuing, and you might be having a beer or something, you got to make sure that those situations are discussed with your guests. Watch your children. Make sure if you got to have a party with a bunch of people over, hire somebody that can just sit there as kind of a lifeguard, or can sit there kind of watching what's going on. Because I promise you, if they come to your house, they're in your pool, somebody drowns, God forbid, or somebody gets injured, they're going to look back at you, the homeowner.
Right.
So be careful with that. And for God's sakes, enjoy your pool. Just be careful, because that is an exposure level that increases this time of the year.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And then, so, here we are just about, about a week and a half away from opening day. You are a huge baseball fan. Last year was, priceless. You got to go to the All-Star game.
It got no better. Didn't get any better than
and
that.
You got to not only go to the World Series, but of course the Astros brought it home. It was a special moment. I know you followed the Astros your whole life. I moved to Houston. It's one of my prerequisites when I selected a city to move to was that they have Major League Baseball. So I've been an Astros fan for going on 24 years or so.
And it finally paid off.
And it finally paid off, yes. And so I believe you have some news that you want to share.
I do.
For the
so
season.
First, before we get to the Astros, I want to congratulate my Cougars, my Cougar basketball team, on an outstanding run. Congratulations to those seniors, to Coach Sampson. What a heartbreaking loss to Michigan, but you know what? It was a good year, and the future looks incredibly bright. So congratulations to those guys. So, now flipping over to our Astros. Yes, the Astros are back. They'll be back in town here in another week or two. I fully expect another World Series, result. I think they even expect it, which is even better. But stay tuned to the Léon Law Firm's Facebook page, because throughout the year we will be giving away Astros tickets as we did last year, and they're good tickets. So you can take your family, usually groups of 4. Take your family out. They can take a look at the game, go to Minute Maid, have a good, memorable time on the Léon Law Firm. Okay, so one thing you need to do is make sure that you subscribe to our Facebook page. Become a member, click like on it so that you can get any updates or any posts that we do from time to time. And I look forward to talking to you guys again in the future.
Excellent. Well, Carlos, and then just to wrap it up, I think it goes without saying, but let's remind people that they can call, complimentary consultation. You take their case. There's no out-of-pocket expenses. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's simply put, that's the case. You can call my office 24 hours a day. Somebody will pick up the phone. If it's not office hours, we'll have an answering service that you can leave a message, and that answering service turns around and calls me. So we'll be with you. If it's an emergency, we'll be with you right away. If it can wait till the next day, then we'll probably call you the next day. And yes, if you've got a situation where you're not sure, you've been injured, a loved one's been injured, critically, or God forbid, has died, call us immediately, because there are items and things and evidence that we have to preserve. There is investigation that we need to start right away. And remember, that is at no charge. The only way I get involved in a case and that you'll owe me a fee is if we take it, as we do, on a contingency fee basis, and at the end, we're able to get compensation for you or your loved one. At that point, then yes, it's a contingent fee. We get a percentage of the recovery. But I could spend 2 years on a case and it just goes sour. The evidence wasn't what we thought it was, and I spent a bunch of money on it, and at the end of the day, there is no case. We cannot win compensation. You owe me nothing. Okay. Calling the office, it's a free consultation. You'll talk to me, one of my associates, one of my staff members. We'll take your information, and we'll let you know what we think.
Okay. All right, Carlos. Well, thank you so much. Wishing you a great spring now that's officially today. I guess spring starts today. By the way, do you know why? Growing up, spring started on March 21st. Do you have any idea why they moved it up?
I don't know. Maybe it's a after St. Patrick's Day thing or something.
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. But anyway, Carlos, thank you so much for being with us today.
All right.
Appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
Take care, folks.
All right.